You know, giving your characters a voice has to be one of the most exciting parts of writing. But what happens when their words just become a jumble on the page? Well, the reader gets totally lost. So, how do we fix that? Let's break down these super simple rules for punctuating dialogue. Okay, take a look at this. It's a short conversation between a mother and daughter. But as you read it, things get a little confusing, don't they? It's kind of a mess. The words just tumble into each other, and it's pretty hard to follow along. The big problem here is just clarity. I mean, who is saying what? Where does one person's voice end and the next one pick up? That confusion can pull a reader right out of your story. But hey, luckily, the fix is incredibly simple. So, first things first, let's just make sure we're on the same page about what dialogue actually is. Dialogue is just the conversation, right? The back and forth. And when we write down the exact words someone says, that's what we call a direct quotation. Our whole goal is to make those quotations crystal clear for anyone reading them. And this is our number one tool, quotation marks. These two little symbols, they are so powerful. Think of them like a spotlight, shining directly on the spoken words and separating them from everything else on the page. Honestly, mastering dialogue pretty much comes down to 3 golden rules. Let's break down your new punctuation toolkit. Okay, rule number 1, always use quotation marks in pairs. One to open the speech and one to close it. Easy enough. Rule number 2, the end punctuation, a period, a question mark, it always, and I mean always, goes inside the closing quotation mark. And finally, rule number 3, you use a comma to separate the spoken words from the part that tells us who's talking, which is called the speaker tag. Rules are great and all, but seeing them in action is where it really clicks. So let's see how they all work together. Just take this example. DeMarcus asked, "What time does the library close?" This sentence puts all 3 of our rules to work perfectly. We've got the speaker tag, DeMarcus asked, followed by a comma. Then you have your opening quote, the question itself, and then the question mark placed neatly inside the closing quote. It's perfect. Here it is again, all by itself. See how clean that looks? The punctuation tells us that these words, and only these words, were actually spoken out loud. And that question mark, it tells us how they were spoken. This is what clarity looks like. Okay, so you've got the basics down. Now let's tackle something a little trickier. What do you do when you interrupt a character's speech with a speaker tag right in the middle of their sentence? This slide shows the difference so clearly. On top, you've got a simple, uninterrupted line. But look at the bottom example, the interrupted one. The speaker tag, Dev agreed, splits the sentence in 2. Now notice the punctuation. A comma goes inside the first quote, and then another comma comes right after the tag. We're basically using 2 sets of quotation marks to wrap around that little interruption. All right, you've seen the rules. You've seen the examples. You have the tools. Now it's your turn to be the editor. Let's test out these new skills with a couple of quick questions. Okay, first question up. Which one of these is punctuated correctly? Is it A, B, or C? Take a quick second. If you chose B, you are absolutely correct. The sentence is a question, right? So that question mark has to go inside the final quotation mark. Well done. How about this one? Which sentence is correct, A or B? Give it a look. The correct answer here is B. And why is that? Because she said is actually separating 2 completely different sentences. So we end the tag with a period before we start the new quoted sentence. Okay, last one. And this one uses our interrupted dialogue rule. Which one is correct, A or B? Pause and decide. It's A. That's the perfect structure, right? Comma inside the first quote, comma after the speaker tag, and then the rest of the sentence. Fantastic. And really, that's all there is to it. By following those 3 golden rules, you've just unlocked the ability to write dialogue that's clear, professional, and super easy for your readers to follow. You've got the power now to let your characters' voices really shine through without any of that confusing clutter. So the only question left is, with this new skill in your writing toolkit, what conversations are you ready to write? Whose story are you going to tell first?